I love
Wait a
I
minute.
love tech. I love technology when it works. So frustrating
Yeah,
when it doesn't. Hey everyone who's watching. This is our first blab from Life Around the Coffee Cup. That's leahheffner.com, and this is my friend Michelle. I'm gonna get. If you haven't read my blog before, you can head over there and find out. I blog about marriage and motherhood and faith and friendship. I just try to encourage everyone in those journeys. And this is Michelle. She is a friend of mine, and I'll give her a second to introduce herself to you all. So, Michelle?
I'm Michelle Vernelson. I live in Cleveland. I have three daughters, 23, 21, and 18. And so I'm embarking on a new career, going back to school now.
Yeah. I'm really excited about you going back to school. I know it's
I'm
not,
not.
I know you're not. I know it's not fun either. So, but I'm excited to see what God has for you next. And for everyone to know, the reason why I invited Michelle on here is because Michelle when I lived in Ohio, she's my Bible study teacher, and she just became a really great friend, and she's so encouraging, and so she's had such a heart for us young moms and building into our kids and encouraging us in our relationships and our walks with God. So I was like, man, the first time I'm going to do this, she'll work through the technical pitfalls with me, and we'll have a great chat that everyone will really enjoy. So if anyone else wants to watch or join, feel free. Don't forget I'm recording this, and you guys can watch it later too, and you can send in questions the whole time. But I do have some questions for Michelle while we're on here.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. They're easy questions.
Yay.
So
I did look some stuff up.
Oh, good. Oh, you look stuff up. So professional, so researchy. Awesome. The reason why so it's January 29th. I spent the month writing on mommy guilt, which Michelle, you know that because you're really sweet and you read what I write. So,
Yeah, that's right.
Wrote on mommy guilt because I had a post that went viral for me over the summer on the fact that I don't get up before my kids get up in the morning because I like getting to sleep, and I think it works for my family really, really well. And I got a lot of responses from people that just said how guilty they felt about that, how we're supposed to get up before our kids to make our days run right. And I thought, well, that seems like very one size fits all, and I don't think that that's how God made us all to be with a cookie cutter out of a stamp. So we feel a lot of mommy guilt about things that really just aren't on us to be just the same as everyone else, I guess. So that's why I spent the month tackling mommy guilt. Michelle, you said you did some research. What are your thoughts on mommy guilt? Like I know that you have and do experience mommy guilt. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
I can still feel mommy guilt, especially with my oldest daughter. It's my fault. I screwed her up. This is happening to her because yada yada yada, down this whole trail of untruths. And so I was like, okay, why do we really feel mommy guilt?
Mm-hmm.
And you explored it in your blog, but the biggest thing is comparison.
Yeah.
We compare ourselves to some other mom who we think does it better because we see one thing she does. We don't see her whole day. We don't see her whole life or anything, but one thing that she does that we don't do. Like, I found it very hard to just play with my kids, and I was trying so hard, and so I would try and play Barbies with them, and all of my friends were such good players with their kids. And honestly, my kids said, "Mom, just go away. Don't try. You can't play. You can't do Barbies. Just go away." So they were perfectly happy playing Barbies by themselves. They didn't need me to participate in that with them, but everybody else could do it except me, which was not true.
Right. And I know that you've said this before. This always sticks with me, is that like when people comment to you, like on your marriage specifically, like, I wish I had a marriage like yours. You always remind them, then you have to take all the parts of our marriage, all the days from the beginning until now, and you have to take all that into consideration. And I think you're totally right. When we just get a glimpse of it, we say, I want that. I want what that looks like right now, but we don't want to put any of the blood, sweat, and tears into it, and we don't want to factor in our own personality things.
Right.
I'm not good at playing with my kids either. Just because like they're decently strong-willed, and they like to do things they like to do things their own way. And if I come in and they're like, they're like, Mom, build this with me. I'm like, okay. And then I'll do it. And they're like, that's not how I wanted it.
Right.
All right, then I'm out because I can't read your mind. So
Right.
Mommy's
Right.
tapping out for today. So, but yeah, that's the same thing. And I can still remember a friend of mine saying to me, how did you get your daughter to act like such a princess? She always listens to you. She always does exactly what you say. And I'm like, yes, right now she is listening to me, and right now she's doing exactly what I say.
Right.
But it's just every kid, it's their ages, their genders, so many things go into it. And you have 3 girls who are strong-willed by your own admission.
Yeah.
I've only met one of them briefly, so I don't have any personal experience with that. But so is that something that, I don't know, so I have strong-willed kids. Is that something that, because of, you think that factors into the mommy guilt, just because there's like a clash of personalities sometimes with the strong-willed just wanting to do their own thing? What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely. And their thing doesn't look like mine. You know, and if we're honest with ourselves, you know, we want our kids to behave so they reflect well on us.
Yeah, we do.
You know, and that's not really, you know, so again, we're comparing ourselves to somebody else because so my kid acted up in the grocery store and somebody else's kid was not, you know.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody's kid acts up in the grocery store, do you ever think, wow, if they just didn't give in to them, if they just said no and stuck with it, their kid wouldn't be this way? Is that really true? You know, as often as I did that with my kids, they still sometimes didn't.
Right.
You know, we make this judgment on ourselves and others. I think that's the biggest thing. We're so concerned about our own image that we don't even realize we're trying to fit our kids into a mold so that we look good.
Yeah, and I think what you said too about like that passing that snap judgment, like in the grocery store when some other kid is throwing a temper tantrum. I feel like it's like this really weird cycle in some respects where, because I'm passing judgment on another mom and she's passing judgment on me, I'm feeling guilty about, in my head, what could she possibly be passing judgment on me about? And obviously, if someone's passing judgment on me, then I'm not measuring up. And what are those things and how do I fix them?
Right.
So I don't know. That grocery store thing gets me every time.
Right. And I've tried to really change that and just pray for that mom. Or I since I have since I'm an extrovert, an outgoing personality, I really try and speak something, you know, like, wow, you are doing such a good job, and just compliment them.
Yeah.
Anything I can figure out to compliment them for, because we need so much encouragement. And I've just been struck reading through the Old Testament again. We're almost through the Old Testament and Bible study. I can't wait to be done.
Oh my goodness. Okay, then I must have gotten behind you guys because I'm only in Jeremiah. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we're doing Haggai and Malachi, but just Jeremiah, all these prophets, God spent time encouraging them. He gave them their call and he spent time encouraging them before they delivered their message to the people. And we beat ourselves up. We don't look for encouragement, or even, I mean, how many times have you said or sent a text, wow, I need some encouragement right now?
A lot. I do that a lot.
Yeah, that's good. But a lot of us don't. You know, it's more like, who wants to admit that? I'll ask for prayer, or I'll say I'm down or whatever, but to say, I need encouragement to keep going in what God's called me to. I mean, we need to do that for each other.
Yeah.
Because I've just been struck with that pattern of God's anew. I think one of the other things is we think we are in control, you know, that what I do is going to control my kids and their future. I mean, I'll be the first to admit I screwed my kids up. But is that truth? Okay, I did some things wrong. I did some things right. But it's God's story. And he redeems quicker than we pull down. And that's from Kay Arthur. So we really do not have total control, but we think we do.
Well, I think we forget that we're dealing with other humans that also have a choice to make. I mean,
Right.
my kids are little and they're still making choices, and I still have to
Right.
explain to them, is this a good choice or is this a bad choice? And either
Mhm.
way, there's consequences, but look how the good consequences, how we feel about good consequences versus how we feel about bad consequences. No one likes losing their TV show for
Right.
the day. No one likes standing in the corner.
Hmm.
But we forget, we think, oh well, this is on me, to they have to behave, they have to obey, we have to control the situation, when
Right.
we only get to give the directive, we don't get to be the one following the directive also.
Right.
And even if we were, we still wouldn't do it, you know, the best.
And how many things do we really need to control? We need to control them not crossing the street in front of a car. We
Mm-hmm.
need to control them, maybe not eating candy all day. But I, I think we control a lot of things that we'd be better off letting them learn to make choices
Mm-hmm.
and have natural consequences.
Right.
And part of it is too, if you weren't, depending on your own parents, when you don't have that example to follow and you're like the first generation trying to do it God's way, I think that's really more difficult too, because you have these tapes that aren't from God playing in the back of your head.
Oh yeah, and I was just talking to somebody about this, like where those like the decisions, the order of consequences, that's what builds the ruts in your brain. And so you'll just get on a track and you'll keep doing it the same way, and you won't even know that you're doing it because it's that ingrained in your brain. And to restart those, to re-dig those, takes so much more work. But it's I don't know, it's always worth it to get on a track where there can be positive outcomes, even from conflict, from something not going well, something not going right.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really helpful, I think. So your kids are older than my kids, and you still feel mommy guilt. How is that different mommy guilt now than it was when they were little kids?
It is different in that I have really focused on David and Paul. Okay, how did Paul kill Christians? I mean, literally kill them. And yet he goes on to do God's work and isn't mired down in, I was such a bad person. I did so many things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I word? He didn't stay there. He accepted God's forgiveness. And so now, when I think that, so my oldest daughter's having a bit of a crisis, a crisis of, do I continue down this path or not? And my first thought is, oh, this is all my fault. I didn't teach her to make choices well, or I didn't do this, that, or the other thing, whatever. But my second thought is, that's not true. She's responsible for herself, just like you and I have had to be. It doesn't matter what happened. When you're an adult, you're responsible for yourself. But if David and Paul could both do these horrible things and accept God's forgiveness, why can't I accept God's forgiveness and cancel my own debt, that Christ has already canceled? Why can't I accept that? I'll forgive you. I'll
Right.
forgive my husband. I'll forgive my kids, but I can't forgive myself. What is that?
No, I think that's a good point, and I think it's totally. I mean, how long do we carry around stuff that we shouldn't even be bothering to carry around just because it's ours instead of somebody else's? And we just keep carrying it and keep throwing it up against ourselves and keep letting it fester in the corner and affect other things, when we could just remember to keep handing it over and saying, this isn't on me anymore. This was all paid for. It's all taken care of already. So
I like that picture. Here in Cleveland, we've got that free stamp, the big free stamp that's downtown.
okay.
I love that physical picture of taking, okay, this is what I did. I yelled at my daughter and I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Put the stamp on it. Not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Debt canceled. And that physical, like I need the physical picture of that to remind myself that debt's canceled, move on. And recently I have been like looking at how much time I spend on something. So somebody made a comment to me and I spent an hour, my husband and I, an hour and 15 minutes Now it was a family member, so a little bit, more, but an hour and 15 minutes of our time was consumed by that comment. And so I've started thinking about that, how much time am I consuming in my thought process for one thing? And does it really require that? What could I have done with that hour and 15 minutes? And so what am I going to do the next time? Kind of thing.
Yeah. I think too, you brought up a good point about, at least for me, when I mess up, I try to apologize to my kids. I can't say that I'm always great at it, but I expect them to apologize to each other. Like when he walks up to her and punches her in the back, I expect him to say sorry. I expect her to give him a hug and say, I forgive you, brother, and, move on with our day. But so when I mess up, I'm above that. I don't think so. I want them to see that, like, look, mommy messes up too. And it's not just that I'm telling you to do these things and then adults don't have to do them. I'm telling you, hey, you know what? I do have to do these things too. I'm sorry. I messed up this way. I yelled at you when I shouldn't have. I took out my fatigue on you. I was impatient with you because I was trying to work when I shouldn't have been, and different things like that. And just taking the opportunity to say sorry to them. I'm going to guess, I'm not a genius, but I'm going to guess that that's not going to go away, that I'm going to have to keep apologizing to them for the next 80 years, probably. that's a guess. Yeah. So.
My kids were only home for 8 days this Christmas, and I had to apologize, and they're older. I should be more perfect now, shouldn't I? By the time as old as I am?
I would think. If you could just get it together, that would be really great.
Right. I wish I could.
Isn't that just like the underlying message? I put this blog post up yesterday, but the two questions that we have, I feel like, are, am I a good mom, even though I know I'm messing up? And that I didn't put this in the blog post, but why can't I just seem to get it together? Why was I better for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, and then I blew it again?
Right.
Because you're still a person, because you're still going to blow it, and you've said this before too, that you can work really hard and really diligently to be a better mom, but then you're not going to be able to put all that same energy into being a better wife at the same time, and a better homemaker, and better at your job. So you might be rocking being a mom, but then you're going to be apologizing a lot to your husband, and you might be apologizing to your boss and apologizing to whomever, and then you switch those gears, and then you're going to be spreading apologies back where you were, because I would like to think that, I got this marriage thing, I'm going in a good role, let me change my focus a little bit, I'll just keep adding. It's not really how it works. Once you divert your attention, you're back in. There's good habits, yes, but there's not. You're still not perfect, and so diverting those habits kind of forces you to apologize more for the things that you're not focusing on as much.
We have such a high expectation of ourselves of perfection. And if you look, if you're looking in the Bible, these guys weren't perfect. How long had David walked with God, done all these great things before Bathsheba?
Right.
Before a long time. We are never, ever arriving.
Yeah,
but we expect that of ourselves.
Yeah, we're a sanctifying process until the day we die. I had somebody ask me, she's got 4 little kids. She said, okay, what do I have to do? What do you do every day to be a good mom? And I was like, well, here are some things that I do every day. I don't know if they make me a better mom, but these are things I do every day. She's like, okay, well, how long have you been doing this? And at what point do I get, at what point am I done? And I was like, done with what? And she's like, so that I'll be a good mom. I truly, truly think that if you're putting effort in, you're a better mom than you think that you are. But you're never going to be a perfect mom ever. And if you're seeking it, if you're praying about it, if you're working on what God's putting on your heart to work on, then, you'll get better every day until the day you die. But the reality is we're going to have backslides. We're going to miss things. We're going to miss opportunities. I frankly have my kids are a work in progress, because I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing when I had any of them. people are always like, oh, I'll wait till I know what I'm doing before I have kids. Secret. I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. I just keep moving forward and trying doing something, move towards something, a better choice that I made yesterday by God's grace. That's all any of us can really do.
I keep telling people, okay, so look back a year, 5 years, 10 years. Am I blowing up less now than I was 5 years ago? You know, or am I doing whatever less than I was? You know, look back, look for a steady uphill climb, and it goes like this, just like the stock market, but a stock will still keep going up, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on one thing. And you know, do we believe enough in God to trust him with our kids?
Right. Absolutely. That's the question.
The absolute only way that I have found to deal with any of this is through scripture. And I know I had a cast on my foot and I couldn't drive, I couldn't go down steps, I couldn't do anything. And God, I was just reading in my Bible, where I'm always reading, you know, just the next thing. And I was being like really witchy to everybody because nobody could do it exact way I did it. I had somebody coming and cleaning my house every week. I had someone coming and doing my laundry, you know, so much to be grateful for. And I was like ticked because somebody couldn't do something, you know, like put the water on to boil the same way I did or whatever. And I was making everybody miserable, and God just, 2 Peter 1:3, by his divine power, God's given us everything we need for living a godly life. And is that statement really true? That God's given us everything we need to live a godly life in this situation right now? And it changed. I mean, like my family radically noticed, because God had given me everything I needed to not be witchy to everybody and to accept my limited ability then and receive it and be joyful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was my choice.
Right.
But I like to think it's somebody else's, you know, choice.
Yeah. Well, I wrote that down because I'm going to like print that and put it in my kitchen, because I feel like, I mean, like, you know, the witching hour, when it's time to make dinner and everyone suddenly goes crazy, I feel like I'm officially out of capacity. Like, it's why do we eat dinner at 5 o'clock? Like, mommy had energy at 3 o'clock. Mommy could have dealt with this at 3 o'clock, but at 5 o'clock, no more. And I can't drink coffee anymore because I'm nursing, like that late in the day, and I'm out. Like, but you're right. Like, God has given us everything that we need for that situation. It's like everything that we've gone through up to that point goes into that situation. Can we see a way to be thankful, grateful? Can we have patience? Can we just be quiet and just let it ride if we can't do anything else, you know? God has given us all those tools. So I think too, I really like what you said about looking back over a year, even over 5 years, and saying, you know, is it progressively less? Are we progressively going, you know, making progress like a stock market? Because I think a lot of times, me personally, but I think this might be true of other people. I'll try something new. Like, I'll read a thing about marriage and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to apply this to my marriage, and I'll try it once. And like the words will get all jumbled in my mouth, and I'll be like, and then it'll just turn into like tears and crying because I get so frustrated I can't say what I want to say. And then I'll be like, forget it, it doesn't work. Clearly it doesn't work because it didn't work today. Well, that's not true. Like, I have no practice doing it. I have no background knowledge, and I'm just like, it doesn't work one time and then that's it. It's progress. It's Lisa Turkers calls it imperfect progress. Is that right? That's how she calls it.
Yeah.
You're more well read than I am, so you probably remember.
Oh, I don't think so.
So, what do you?
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the other big thing is sleep. I mean, that is, I don't know, I did the Good and Beautiful God, which is a spiritual discipline thing. And the first one he targets is sleep. And, you know, we don't get enough sleep when we have young kids. And then they become teenagers and they don't even want to start to talk until 11. So you have to figure out, how do I sleep, like take a nap so I can still be awake at 11? But I mean, we think we can go without sleep, and it's not truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we feel guilty because we sit down to pray and we fall asleep. And I think a lot of times God's just saying, would you just sleep?
Yeah.
Don't do so much. Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I mean, I cope a lot better when I have sleep.
Yeah. And I mean, you met me when I was at my most sleep deprived I've ever been in my life. I was hardly functioning. Like the fact that I was standing was practically miraculous. I never slept ever. But I was just thinking about this yesterday because I think a lot of people say, okay, but God, okay, so if we look at creation, rest came on the seventh day. And so people are like, when I get everything else done, then I rest. And
right.
I mean, I've read that account in Genesis how many times over the course of my life. I've read it to my kids how many times over the course of their lives. I don't know. But yesterday, I all of a sudden wasn't even reading it. And the thought just occurred to me that that's not true at all. On the very first day, God created day and night. He separated those two things. And he said, this is day and this is night. Now, most places, day is longer than night by the darkness and the light and how the world spins and all those things. But he didn't wait till the seventh day. Like, yes, that's when he rested. But he didn't wait to differentiate that we need cycles of awake and sleep, that we need different cycles in our lives. He did that right away on the first day. And there it is. And I was like, I'm always amazed. I love like, I don't know. I don't feel like the first time I read through the Bible, I was like, high five, I did it. I'm set, like, yay me.
Yeah.
And now, like, every time I read through it again, I'm like, this is in here? How did I miss this before? And like I said, I wasn't even reading it. And I was like, look, God gives us rest. And so, I have a newborn, so I sleep sporadically. And then, but then I have to make good decisions around that. I also am trying to blog, so I don't go to bed when I should a lot. And then the other night I got 4 hours of sleep and I was like, I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I was like, this is going to be a terrible day. And I was like, I just gone to bed earlier. I was working, but there's always work to do. There's always laundry. There's always dishes. They're never going to go away. So if I let them go for one day, I'll have more to do tomorrow, just in a different way. I can prioritize my day differently. So
use paper plates.
I know I should.
I know they're expensive. I know maybe environmentally, but I kind of think if using paper plates makes me sleep 15 minutes more or not yell at the kids, then glory, hallelujah. Plus, I don't have to worry about the kids breaking them.
I know. That's true. Yeah. Well, and I actually read a blog post not that long ago about somebody was saying that you don't train your kids in housework to make your life easier. And I was like, but I think you do a little bit, because you should every day be working on training yourself out of a job. I should not be folding laundry for 5 people for the rest of my life. I don't think, in my opinion. They can fold their own laundry. I'm already teaching them how to fold their own laundry. It doesn't look pretty. It's folded, whatever. I should not have to do everything for everyone for the rest of all the time that they live in my house. It is always going to be my joy to do things for them. I prefer to feed them. So if they could fold the laundry, then I can cook more food. So I'm still serving. I'm still doing that, but like, I guess I don't see what's wrong with training myself out of a job in a few areas of my household to do that. So
the truth is that it's a lot harder and a lot more work for yourself to train them to do it. But are we raising adults or children?
Yeah.
And I'm raising an adult who can live for God.
Yeah.
I'm raising an adult who can transfer their obedience to God. Therefore, I will take the time to teach them to do mundane household tasks that are just part of life and will always be part of life. And so, when my kids were little, I put the dishes on a bottom cupboard so that they could put the dishes away out of the dishwasher, because they couldn't use the excuse, well, we can't reach it. Well, people thought that was terrible because my kids were 4 and unloading the dishwasher. Well, okay, think what you will, but I'm raising an adult, and it made it easier for me. Plus, they were with me. You know, kids like to work with you. They don't do that. They don't like that so much when they become teenagers.
Right.
But if I think about the agrarian society, these kids were working with their parents all the time,
Right.
just in normal life.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is we've taken too much of that out of our society. And it's just part of training your kids to be an adult, to be able to work, I think. And honestly, it's fun.
It is.
You know, to be with them and have them with you in just everyday life.
Just, I mean, like you said, your teenagers don't want to talk until 11 o'clock at night. My kids don't want to talk until their hands are otherwise busy. Like, their hands are busy, and then all of a sudden, we're asking all these questions. My 4-year-old was coloring yesterday, and she was going, and she looked up at me, and she's like, "Hey, Mom, are bad guys real?" Okay, good. Let's talk about this. Good.
Right.
Great questions. Thank you. But she's not gonna do that just sitting on the couch with me. It's not gonna happen. She's gotta, it's gotta be a natural flow out of being busy and doing something, be busy, not just to be busy, but doing something together where she feels like we're connected and we're bonded together. So we were both coloring, and that's why she started talking to me. But I think, I think that all the time. I think that's the short-sightedness of when you're so tired and when you are comparing yourself in a lot of ways to what's going on around you. And part of that, is just you want to make sure that your baby is doing well. So you're like, hey, what's your baby that's the same age doing? Is my baby doing that? So am I doing the things? All of those things go together. But so you're taking the sleep deprivation plus the comparisons, and then you add in like just surviving. You just like some days the goal is just surviving until Daddy walks in the door from work, so that you can be like, I'm out. I gotta go hide in the closet. Like, and doing that, and you forget that you're raising adults. You forget that. And a few years ago, our oldest we were having church outside in the park, and she wandered away, and so we didn't want to like yell in the middle of church to get her to come back. So, we quietly got up and followed her, and she was very quiet, and she would turn around and look at us, and she would just make sure we were still there. And she would turn around and look at us, and she would make sure we were still there. And I just felt like all of a sudden I realized that that's like her life. She needs to make sure that we're still there, but she needs to be able to get farther and farther away in what she's able to do and what she's able to decide on her own. And so I try to always think of that. Okay, so I'm not raising I am living with a 2-year-old, but I'm not raising a 2-year-old. My goal is not to have the most well-behaved 2-year-old in any situation. My goal is to have a husband and a father who loves and serves God in big ways. So how do we get from 2 years old to that? And that's a lot of big picture as opposed to a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And I think it's just, we lose sight of it because we're just dead on our feet sometimes. And that's where we come back to that sleep part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love asking myself the question, what is truth? With my thoughts, what is truth? And could I screw my kid up so bad that God couldn't do anything? No.
Right.
Because I'm not God.
And like you said, he redeems faster than we pull down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you've said that before, and so obviously not everyone has had the pleasure of talking with you as much as I have had. But that what is true in this situation, and so taking that even like another step farther, true things are, truth out of the Bible, truth about the situation. But even looking at that and saying, okay, so there's true things, like, for example, my son peed in my slippers the other day. Okay. It's hilarious now. At the time I was fuming because I had wet slippers. But so I could focus on that, and I could come to him over and over again, and I could say, hey buddy, this is not how we act. This is not what we do, over and over and over again. Or I could say, hey bud, this is not what we do. This is what we're going to do next time. And then go into something else and focus on, we had such a good day. That was the one bad thing about the whole day. Or I could have gotten sucked into the bad and I could just keep seeing bad over and over and over again. So,
right.
Yeah.
I also think sometimes we think we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And we always have a choice. And I started saying this to my kids, like, there's never a reason to not be kind.
Right.
And that applies to me.
Yeah.
Often more than them.
Yeah, I think that you're totally right. Hey, we have a dad who wants to join us over here. Let's see here. I don't know how to do this. Maybe I can figure this out. I'm trying. Oh, that is okay. I'm sorry. There, I got it. Oh, I got it. Yay.
Hello guys, how you doing today?
I got it. I think, yep, there you are. Hey, you're a dad. We're talking about mommy guilt.
Yeah, I am actually, since really young, but it's okay. Why is my camera cutting? So is my camera weird to you or no?
Yeah, I can see you.
No,
we can see you.
It's like
I can see your whole face. I got you.
Okay. So yeah, I have like a question, like
okay.
Okay, like
we'll try our best.
Yeah, like my child right now is like 4, and I when he goes to the kindergarten, I don't want him to be bullied, and I'm afraid, and I don't know what to do because I'm young myself. I don't know it happened very young, and now I'm studying, So I, I'm saying no time, but my pull-out game strong at least.
Yeah. Michelle, my kid has been in school for 6 months, and then we took her out. So what is your experience with bullying?
Well, I had a daughter who was bullied for 2 years.
Okay.
In school, in 3rd and 4th grade. And the first thing we did was talk to the teacher and then the principal. And we tried to help her navigate through that. And how do you respond to somebody who's doing that?
Yeah.
And it was, she was in 3rd grade. You go to the teacher.
Right.
Yeah. Also, I think you have to watch your own kid, because if you see them starting to be sullen or their personality changing, or they're so scared to go to school, you need to start asking questions about what's going on. If you see changes in them. And the school, the principal, the teacher, everyone did everything they could, but this kid wouldn't stop.
Okay.
And, I had to say to her, all right, he learned it from home. This is how he's being treated at home, but that doesn't make it okay.
Right.
Maybe it can give me understanding, but not okay. And ultimately we pulled her out of school and homeschooled her because nothing could be done to control the bullying.
Right.
And so, you just have to, we can do so many things to protect our kids, but we can't protect them 100%. And we just have to walk through what happens and trust that God saw it, knew it was going to happen, and could give us the wisdom to deal with it.
And I think that's totally hit the nail on the head. You walked through it. It wasn't like you made a snap decision. She came home one day and you were like, boom, this is what we're doing. You took time, and I know this to be true because I know you. You took time and you prayed about it. You sought wise counsel, and then you followed the hierarchy at school correctly. And then when everyone did everything that they could, then you made the decision that was best for your daughter. Never putting her in a dangerous situation, but helping her learn through it. And by her watching that, then she's able to navigate other hard decisions and say, okay, this is what mom and dad did. This is what I can apply this knowledge to this situation over here. So I hope that helps with the bullying question. My kid is 4 also, but she only went to school for 6 months before we moved. So I don't have any experience with that. Sorry.
Right.
We're rated a half hour, Michelle, and I could talk to you all day because I could. Probably not everyone wants to listen to us talk all day. So is there anything else, like any final thoughts that you have, anything to wrap up with?
Just forgive yourself.
Okay.
And stop expecting perfection.
Okay. I think that's good wisdom. Do you, just because we've talked already about how it's so hard to forgive yourself. Do you, is there like a way that you do that? Is that like something where like you're like intentionally prayerful about forgiving yourself in these ways that you're doing it? Is there a specific Bible verse that you kind of say over and over again? What is a way that you extend that grace to yourself? Is there a way that you do that?
If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins. And those verses, and then the verses in Isaiah, and you just did the blog on snow.
I did.
You know, that whole thing that God pictures me with Christ's righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I thinking? That's how God sees me, you know, with those debts canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember that to him, I am clothed in white. And then again, reading David, reading Paul, if they could do it, if they could forgive themselves and go on, and God even with David, so Solomon is from Bathsheba. You know, that always floors me, that the next king comes from the woman he had the adulterous relationship with, killed her husband. Yeah, there was a consequence. The first baby dies, but yet that's the wife that God uses the line to continue through. And I think those are just powerful pictures of God's crazy love for us and his forgiveness. And we can choose to forgive ourselves, and we can choose to change our thoughts. Right now, the last 9 months, the verse for me has been Colossians 3:1-2. Set your heart on things above, not on earthly things.
Yeah.
And so that I have to say it over and over every single time the thoughts come into my mind.
Yeah.
So
mine has been, well, when you met me and I was, exhausted, I read in Proverbs, and Proverbs 30:1 is, I am weary, God, but I can prevail. And I was like,
right.
Okay, that is how I feel. And now, and I said this the whole time I was in labor, actually, this is the verse that kept popping up while I was in labor, was, but Jesus' power is made perfect in my weakness. His power is made perfect in my weakness. And I wouldn't say I feel as weary as I once did, but I feel weak a lot more often, a lot more unable, just incapable of doing it all and spreading myself over it all. And then that's when I get to see Jesus come out in really cool ways to impact my children for the kingdom of God, my marriage for the kingdom of God, hopefully my prayer is for my work for the kingdom of God. So yeah, it's really, really good advice. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up. Again, I'm Leah Heffner. I'm at leahheffner.com with Life Around the Coffee Cup. This is Michelle. She is awesome. And Michelle, thanks for coming on and talking with me.
You're welcome.
Almost as good as having breakfast with you, but not quite as good. So, all right. Well, I'll post the video, and anyone who missed it can watch it there. So thanks, Michelle. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.